I don't remember LR.
Give me 1 split second. I gotta connect to. I go front desk or living room?
It should be conference room.
Cool.
Yep. So there you go. Yeah. And say Canvas all the time. We didn't even meet in Canvas. I don't know why that came up.
Well, no, because the password Canvas.
Yay!
Ta-da!
I did it. All right. So, hi, real quick. My name is Carlos. Quick history. Originally from New York. Just spent some time in the Marine Corps. Did a little bit of contracting. Was it 2016? Wife goes, "Hey, why don't you create an app and become a millionaire?" So I'm like, "Yeah, why don't I?" Right? That's the right everyone wants to go through. So I started messing with Swift, which completely failed. I tried to build a calculator, crashed. Then I found out about Python, drew a square that drew a circle, and I was like, mind blown. This is the route I'm gonna go. So fast forward now, I'm still learning. So here we are. What do we want to do first? I created a little note on the side. I'm sure you cannot see that.
We can turn the lights off.
Much better. Better? Alright, so
Thanks.
how's that look?
Yeah, looks good.
Look at this up here.
There you go, you can't see it.
Like I said, created a little note on the side. So we're gonna start on the desktop. I've been working off the terminal, very how do you say, beginners. So I'm gonna try to talk as I type. If you guys got any questions, or you guys could correct me at any time. Like I said, I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm gonna pick Mike's head. So from time to time. So we're gonna do LS. You're gonna go to my desktop. And I'm gonna make a directory. I'm gonna call it newsletter. That's what it is. And we got newsletter. You guys follow me? Okay. So from there, we're gonna create a virtual environment. You see in the bottom. Well, let's just copy paste. Much easier, right? You see it doing this thing. And actually, I messed up because
You go to the desktop.
yeah, I got another desktop. Correct.
Yeah, I've done that.
So with that, I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna CD into it first, correct?
Yep.
Then create it. Yay, you did it. Good. Like I said, you guys work with me. I'm learning. Okay? Then we are in the folder. Then I'm going to create another directory, the source directory, where we're going to keep all the codes in it, all the important code, pretty much. I'm going to call it SRC. Then I'm going to open up VS Code in it. And this is where, you guys can see it, right?
Yep.
Awesome. So this is where I'm going to actually run my server. So I can see it from here. Where am I? So we're in the virtual environment. I'm going to activate it. So from there, I'm going to go source bin / activate. And as you see, we're in it. You can tell by the environment that we created. Good. Good. Then from here, I'm going to CD into the source file. source directory, and we don't have nothing in it. So with this, I'm going to create, install the dependencies that I need to launch it to Heroku. So at the moment, I don't have anything in it, just the requirements. So with this, we are going to download or install Django. And it should be the latest, 2.1, which I have to say is like very, very easy, like compared to 1.11, which I had to do other things. But 2.1 is extremely easy for me, at least.
It was 2.0 or 1.0 didn't even support Python 3.
Does it? 1. What was it?
Python 3 was not officially supported in 1.x.
How long ago did that version come out?
Look at that.
2 has only been around for a couple of years now.
I was gonna say
Maybe
like
2 years.
That's how
Yeah. 1.11 definitely ran Python 3 though. Ran
Or
on
it
Python
might have
3.
been that 2 dropped support for 2 then.
Yeah, I think that's more likely.
that's not.
Yeah.
So moving on, we're going to DJ database. This is a database I'm going to be using in the second part of this app. As you see, I'm going to click install the Psycop G. Am I saying it right? Psycop G?
PsychoPG.
Psycho PG.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So like,
Psycho.
I like it better the other one.
My
No,
bad.
there are so many terms in programming that you just look at and that go, how do I actually pronounce you? You're not an English word, and then you don't, until you actually say it out loud, you don't even know if what you've been saying in your head is right.
Or if it's two words
What's
just
it?
smashed together, that's the Unix way of going about it.
Why not?
Tomato,
What's your
right?
science fiction?
Yeah.
What Psychop is?
Hey, what's a Psycho PG? What's Psycho PG?
There you go.
What is it?
Psycho PG?
Yeah.
It's, Mike, please.
PsychoPG is, specifically PsychoPG2 hyphen binary if you want to be really, you want to get the pip right, because they're deprecating things. That it is the database backend for connecting something like SQL Alchemy or some other kind of sitting on top of the database model to connect to an existing Postgres database.
There you go.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So if you are using SQL Alchemy in your Django project and you want to connect that to PSQL database, you have to install PsychoPG2 hyphen binary, and only when that's installed, and you give it the connection string PSQL : and whatever the rest of your URI is, then you can connect to your database. Otherwise, it's going to say SQL Alchemy does not come with a database connecting engine. You need to install one.
There you go.
Is that kind of like PHP with PDOs?
It's been so long.
it's kind of, but with PHP, everything is bundled in for all the good that does you. Guess what I've been writing lately?
Sweet. So we move on. So these are the dependencies that we've installed in our virtual environment. So with this, I'm gonna create a text requirement. So with this, and that should create a text. Moving on, but then we're gonna let's test the server to see if it's working. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me back up. We gotta create a project. So with that, we go Django-admin. Start project. And we're going to call it, keep it simple, newsletter. Did I spell it right? Yay. Actually, there's another mistake. I wanted to create it in the source file.
I think you did.
You did.
Oh no, but I wanted to,
Yeah, it's in the source.
You want to put it in,
Yes.
in
You want to put it in
source,
the
not
read.
in newsletter.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought the Django idea was you had put a folder named your project name, then you put another folder named your project name, which has all the actual source in it. I thought that was how you did it.
isn't that kind of like redundant? Oh, no. So,
Yeah, it always drove me nuts.
okay. Well,
Django does things weird because everything is an app. Every route is an app, right?
And- Yeah, but you do want your manage.py to live in the root folder.
Oh yeah.
So there we
I've been
go.
learning Django. It's very confusing.
Sorry, I'm being a jerk.
So with this, we're gonna test out the server. Run server, and it should be running.
With a lovely
What the hell?
landing page.
Yay, we got it running. Awesome. So far, oh, by the way, this is what we're creating. I'm sorry, I should have showed this in the beginning.
Burying the lead there.
Yeah, sorry. So this is what we're creating. Something simple. So we got a server running, and not sure if you guys noticed all these errors, but this is it's the database in the background. So we got to do migrate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the terminal. So I like to leave the Visual Code terminal running for the server, and I'll just go to the terminal iTurn to run the commands. So with that, same thing. Activate the environment. Activate. And from there, we will do a migrate. And it should clear up. Boom.
What's that for again?
Just to flush out. Well, yeah, Mike, I'll let you.
Michael.
What's the purpose of migrating?
Oh, so migrating is a means of putting into code the changes to your database structure. So we're starting off here with an empty Postgres database other than what comes with Postgres by default. Yeah, or I get, well, it's only connected up to SQLite right now.
Correct, yeah.
So, and SQLite gives you nothing.
Yeah.
So Django already has a handful of basic components, things like session object management, that lives in databases for managing the state on the back end. And what Django expects to be in the database, how it's structured, because Django is now managing every aspect of your database. When you do make migrations, it's now creating those files saying, this is the current state of your database, here's all the changes you need to make to it. Then when you actually migrate it, it sees what are all the unchanged, or what are all the new migrations I need to make. I will run them against my database, and once we're all up to date, the app, or Django, and my database are expect one another to act the way that they do.
Is that kind of like Rails and Rake?
It's exactly like Rails.
Rake? Is that the same
Yeah.
term?
It's
Yep.
exactly like
Maybe Rake? Okay.
it's exactly like the Rails
Awesome.
Rake migrations.
You're raking for changes.
Okay, so moving on, we shall create our app. I will call it something simple, pages. Make sure I'm in the root. Yes. Manage pages. Cool. Come here. So with this, we will go into settings and the installed app and actually put it in. Making sure we are registering. That's what we're doing, registering our new app into Django's. With that in the root, we will create a directory where this is telling Django to look for the templates as another name for, like, we're going to create a home page, about page, sign up page. So we're going to tell Django to actually look for it in here. Copy. Easy. So from here, I am still in the root. Let's do it now. I'm gonna create the templates directory. Moving forward, we're gonna go into Pages app, the view, and actually create the homepage. First off, we're gonna do a quick import from Django, HTTP. Spell and then we're going to create the view. I'm going to use a function view, very simple for me, and hopefully everyone else. We will use the request, and we're going to return a render. With request open to view home.html. So with that, let's create the the home page. So let's cd into templates and create the home page. Okay. Yay, we did it. Good job. All right. From there, we're gonna go back into newsletter, the URLs, so that way, I guess I don't know how to phrase it. Where you gotta go from view and route it, right? We're gonna route this view. Okay, thank you. First, we're gonna import it from pages. Import views.
I was thinking of a tutorial of Westbox.
We are gonna create a path to use that home view. Let's see, is that what I named it? Yes, home view. Okay. So with this, and that should work right there. So let's go to the home page and create something small just to make sure that it's working. Hola world. I don't know if you guys know, I'm Dominican, Spanish. Okay. Really?
Me too, but I'm not.
All right, well, let's see if it works. Yay!
Yay.
Got it working. Okay, I'm excited. I'm telling you. Usually, live coding is like the worst, right?
This is actually really good.
Practice.
Exactly. So, okay, so moving forward. So, we did the home page. What's next? We're going to do the view, the about, and the sign up. So with that, let's just copy. So we got the about and the sign up. And with that, about and sign up. Same thing for URLs. You're going to create a path for it. We can call it about and sign up. Change this to about view and sign up view. That should be simple. Same thing over here. We're going to create the about page, about HTML, and then the sign up. Boom. So we should have 3. So that should work. Let's test it out. So from here, about should be blank. Well, yes, because it's blank. Let me name it about me or about us. About you.
It's not all about you, man.
It's about
About
me
Vincent,
too.
apparently.
No, I was talking about Pokemon.
All right. We got the about. Then we got the sign up. Let's see if that works. Yes.
Yay.
It's working. It's working.
Got routing.
Yes. So, what's next? Well, as you can see, it's not pretty. It's really simple. Like I said, it's really simple that we're creating. So with that, let's the links. Let's do some links. Or a navbar, right? Let's create a navbar. So with that, we're going to do a links 3, right? What do we have? The home. How did I do that? Oh, that's Emmet. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. So there's an extension that VS Code has Emmet where you can just do like the simplest.
That looks like some pretty nice text expansion there, like programmatic text.
Exactly.
expansion.
So again, I'm sorry, I'm very new to this. If I'm going fast, please ask or stop me.
That was good. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. All right. So we're creating the home. We are creating the home. And we're creating the about. We'll call it about. And then,
But you messed up the spelling.
yes, you're right. Good eye. Thank you. You are the man. Sign up then. Sign up. So that should be simple links, right? Let's see if it works. Oh, sweet. Okay. Awesome. But you can see there's a problem here. So this is a reference called dry, do not repeat yourself.
Mhm.
So that's where the template tags, or am I saying that right? Template tags and
Or extending templates.
extended templates, correct, thank you. So with that, we want to create a base template where we could, I guess, reference all the code from there. Just pretty much do one drive, do not repeat yourself. Sorry if I sound really vague.
It sounds like you're repeating yourself.
I know I am. So with that, we are going to create another HTML page, and we are going to call it base. Yay, there you go. So with this is another short image hyphen extension that should give me a template. So let's name it Orlando Python Group. Sounds good. And then with that, let's from here take this out and put it in the base. And then with that, I don't know, I forgot the name of terminology. So I'm going to use
Block, yeah.
block, there you go, block content. So this helps me not repeat myself. And block. And let's see if that works. Is that good? Yes.
You have to extend it.
Yep, this file.
Oh yeah,
is good.
hold on. You are correct. You have to extend it. That's correct. So with this, extend, base HTML. Okay. Extend, then block content and block. Spell check. That should work, right?
All right.
Let's do it for the others. This about sign up. Sign up. Okay. I am going to cross my fingers. Hopefully this works. Please. No. What was that?
It might be extends.
Extends.
Oh,
baby.
yeah, that's right.
Plural. Come on. Plural. I'm sorry. Apologies.
Happens to everybody.
Apologies. Let's see. Boom. Sign up. There you go. Thank you for the spell check. Yay. Now let's see if it works. About.
Oh no.
No.
What is this?
Oh, it must be the
Sign up.
space.
Oh, it's
Use
because
URL.
you didn't put the base // in those links.
Oh.
They're all relative.
No, your URL was,
Not that in there, in base.
your URL there was about/sign up.
Oh yeah, it should be /about and /.
There you go. You guys are awesome. I love you guys.
Wait, I thought there's no ending slash though. Is there?
I don't think Django cares unless you tell it to care.
So I don't need an ending slash. Is that
I
what you're
don't
saying?
know.
I don't think you need it. Let's find out.
Don't think you need the end slashes.
Yeah.
I'm not that.
I don't think Django cares unless you tell it to care about the ending slash.
I started learning Django like.
Yay! Good
It's
job.
been a while. This is my
Thank
my
you,
recollection.
fellas. Thank you very much. All right, so there, simple web app, home, about, sign up. So let's pretty it up. Is that a word? Make it pretty.
Beautify.
Beautify. There you go.
Bootstrap it.
Bootstrap it. Perfect. Bootstrap it. So with that,
Just throw Bootstrap in and call it a day.
there you go. So
Something.
with that,
Maybe I like a rotating carousel of images too while you're at it.
Yeah. Do you have your repo on GitHub?
Fun thing about blocks on templates, especially base templates, is if you put any content inside of a block that is meant to be overwritten, it gets treated as a default value. So if something that extends it does not overwrite that block is now presented as is in your file. It's a great thing for having things like a title where in your base header you can have block page title and have the default value, and then child pages that extend your base can overwrite that if they so choose.
Sweet. So yeah, we're gonna bootstrap it. Hopefully this works. Yay, that's different. So now let's make it, bring it to the middle.
It's not Times New Roman.
Yeah, I know. So with that, let's use a container. So with this, I'm using Emmet. I'm just period container and then hitting tab, and it should create me a div. And let's wrap it around the content. So with that, it should bring it to slightly in the middle. Yes, that works. So there you go. Simple web app. So let's give it more detail, right? Which I kind of cheated. Use some, give it a little jumbotron, right? We're going to go to the home. And cheat. So we're going to call this, let's do it today, app development, right? The app, what's it called?
App deployment.
Yes, there you go. App deployment. And we are going to copy paste. And give some context. Okay. And then Thomas. Is Thomas here?
Oh, that would be me, yes.
Thomas, nice to meet you, Thomas.
Hello.
So give some spotlight to Thomas.
Alright.
And, okay, where are we? So we are here, so see how it looks. Go to home. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And just, let's say, let's change this to come join us. We're gonna let it, there you go. Target, we're gonna let it open it up on its own tab. Is that correct?
Yep, that's very funny.
There you go. So let's see that works. Join us and hey,
Yeah.
we got it working. Okay. So what else are we missing? About us? I don't know. Do you want me to go into more like giving this, making it prettier, like adding?
No,
more
logic.
I have a question about your use of the unordered list tag for the header items.
Sure.
Is there a reason why you put them in an unordered list block without making them list items, which of course would.
Well, I just did it for the purpose of making it fast. For the, is there? There's no. Personal preference, I guess. I don't. I just did it because I just wanted to show
What's the
links.
code look like?
What's the code look like?
Where are we?
In my experience, if you're doing button rows like that, it's
Needs
Very
list items. That's what we're talking
It's
about.
more standard to
Oh,
use
yeah.
a nav link if you're doing it that way.
yeah, putting things in LIs, it gives a little buffering room around it. But
Yeah, LA has the padding left default.
So LI in this case, each link, the A link tag would be surrounded by its own LI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you
So-
can
So no, but there was a reason for that. So the reason I just did it just to show it, just to put it up there. But we're gonna go bootstrap, right? Let's bootstrap it. I mean, why not,
Honestly,
right?
it's working right now.
Yeah. So let's
The
bootstrap it.
browser's very upset with you. You're violating semantics.
Yeah. So let's just make it a little better.
Browsers are too forgiving.
They are, yes.
Yeah.
So with this,
The only reason you really care is for SEO.
sign up.
You're just
sign
building
up,
cards.
sign up, and then about us. About. You.
You would have liked to color my shirt.
What else? Period. Should be it. Active ticket, active out. Okay, so see that works. There you go.
Oh.
Something
went wrong.
Something's wrong with that.
Got a wrapping issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, you haven't closed
You
the
still
nav.
have the first one.
Yeah,
Say that again?
You still have the unordered list, the top,
Oh, there you go. So we can delete that.
You don't close them down.
Yeah, you gotta close the
I just wanted to show you. Did I close the nav?
Yep.
Get at it.
Before your content.
No. At the very end. Past the div.
Oh,
Past the two divs. Past the two divs.
Past the last one, yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Right in there. Just close your nav.
There we go.
Yay.
Now it's closed.
Ta-da.
There you go. Awesome.
Look at that.
So there you go. We got something working. Thank you, fellas. All right. I mean, that's enough. I mean, pretty much then we're going to fall into the whole HTML, CSS. So let's just move on to deploying it. Right. This is the kind of kicks my butt per se. So with this, we're gonna we are in the root, so we're gonna create a get ignore. And the purpose of get ignore, I guess, is just to make it less bulky.
There are some files that you never want to put up to source. Either they're superfluous or they contain secrets, or you don't want to put your end into source control because it's your end.
You don't want to put node modules, which is like 5,000 files.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's fine. Stop with that every time. Your AWS Joe will love you.
So with that,
It's like tracking your Git history.
I'm cheating over here, so I'm gonna copy paste the actual.
I think your Git ignore should be in the root folder.
Yeah, that's going to be in your. That should go in your root directory. You
Yes,
can,
yes,
I
right.
believe you can do git ignore per folders.
You could, but it doesn't make any sense.
You don't want to do it now, but you can do it.
So with this, I need to back up. Now I'm in my root. Okay, so with this, get ignore. Spell check.
Yeah,
You're good.
Okay, this. Copy paste. A little cheating over here. Doesn't hurt. With that, we are going to create a proc file. Now, this proc file is purposely for Heroku because it needs to register the actual project that I'm putting. I mean, I don't know.
So, well, your proc file is the commands that Heroku is going to run either in pre-launch or to explicitly launch your file when it's or launch your application when it's deployed.
So with this, cheating over here as well.
You'll even see the little Heroku icon in the proc file in VS Code.
And this is the actual app or project that we're naming it. We called it newsletter.
What is Unicorn again?
So, G-Unicorn or Unicorn or whatever. Again, it's how it's
I like
there are wars.
I always called it Gunnicorn.
These are called whiskey apps. Their whole thing is to be a middleman between the raw web traffic and your actual Python application, the Python, not the binaries, but the actual runtime of your Python app. And it's going to manage a lot of things for you, things like spooling up new worker threads. So I think that the default is usually 2 or 4. The best thing to do is going to be to set the number of workers depending on the number of CPUs available on your machine. But it's the difference between having a single thread, like a development environment, handling your one request per 2 minutes, however how much your testing you're doing with it, and in a production environment, managing a queue of requests that then gets split to different workers based on availability. And it will also do things like lifecycle management. Like you can if you know that your app has some memory issues, you can say auto kill a worker after it has served up 1,000 requests and spent a new one. Things like that. You should never use manage.py.run or run server or flask.run or whatever your dev environment is in production. I've done this, and I've had some angry emails saying, "Why is your server down?" That's why.
Nice.
And you can still use gunicorn or the async varieties like hypercorn in conjunction with a more specialized tool like nginx. Nginx and unicorn are not the same. you can still have Unicorn behind nginx, and nginx is handling all of the superfluous traffic to your website, things like static files in particular.
Sweet. Awesome. So we're going to initialize Git. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Git. Hopefully you guys are. Yes, you guys are awesome. So I'm getting used to it. So with this, we're going to do a Git init. Just saying, what's the purpose of getting it again? Just initializing what we're going to push out to the
Just files that get needs in
Makes
your
a
repo.
little hidden folder in your repo
That's
with a bunch of settings.
So with that, we're going to add all files and commit, initial commit.
Yep.
Easy, right? Right. So we have all this file. So moving on next, we're going to install Heroku, but I already did it. So with that, we're going to just check the version to see if we are on par, which it is. So with this, we're going to log in. And this is new, so pretty much it gives us an option to actually, it'll send us out to the website and log in. I'll log in. Oh, and before this, everybody has to create a Heroku account. It's free, so just FYI.
Yes, it is.
So it's closed.
I've
Let's
actually
close
never
this one.
deployed anything on Heroku.
That's why you're here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So with this, we are going to create the actual app. And let's call it newsletter. For me, it's just like goal 1001, but let's go, let's see, 005. Hopefully that's not taken. Okay, so you can tell me mistakes.
I guarantee you that OPUG news is not taken.
OPUG news? Let's do
What
that.
does that mean?
So Orlando Python
Oh,
user
sure.
group. That's why a pug is staring down a snake in our
OPUG
logo.
news.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that at first.
Boom, it's not taken.
I thought you guys just wrote
All
the J.
right. All right, so with this, we need to take this actual link and go into our settings and pretty much register it. We're registering the link. Come here. What is it? Allow host.
Yep.
Okay. And then turn this off to false. We don't want showing our secrets. So should be good, and we're up and running. So with that, just to test out, see if it's working, let's go to Heroku Open to see if the actual link is working. Yay, it works. All right. Yes. So with this, we are going to go back and let's check the notes. Apologies, checking the notes to make sure that everything. So we should be good. So now we're going to push it to the repo. Let's hopefully, hope I don't run into errors, but most likely I am. And it's saying rejected. Am I missing anything?
Failed to get publishing certificates.
Do we get status?
Right.
Get status.
Oh, I updated the setting file. That's what it was. So with that, we got to go back to it. Add all. We got commit and what was it? Updated setting files.
Yep.
So that should do it.
Uh,
I thought you didn't close it.
I don't think it
I
matters.
did.
Yeah, you got it.
Boom.
It
Don't
didn't
scare
matter.
me now. All right, so with this, let's try again. Push. Heroku master. And just a FYI, we are going to get an error. It's, oh man, it's too soon. What did I miss?
Push failed, push rejected.
Same message.
yeah, it looked like your last commit said there was nothing to commit.
Oh, really?
Get logged maybe? Make sure that happens.
No, it's good.
Good. So,
Do you have to set a remote? I don't know.
I
should
think
we-
it's only if we can get how to do it. But you're just gonna get through Heroku.
It is possible to set up CI. It's
so
auto push.
local.
Yeah.
See if the local web is running. So, with that, let's Working. That works.
You might have to do set the remote for Heroku.
So
Like get remote at origin.
Yeah.
Endpoint.
I don't know if the Heroku CLI has a command for that to do it automatically.
So error into a problem, Houston.
No, it's set up. Let's get that message again.
Yeah.
Which one?
The error message. Try
What do
pushing
you
again.
get pushing?
Get push Heroku.
Good master.
No, let's Google that error message.
Well, they got a link right there.
Yeah, it is trying to push it to get.heroku.com, so the remote is recognized.
Please receive.
Maybe.
This occurs
Oh,
when
you know what it is?
Check the build path.
It's the I know what it is. It's the prog file since is it because I named it Opug News and does that matter? No?
No.
No, let's look at the web page and see what it says.
Just Google it. Remote rejected master.
Yep.
Pre-received
Yeah, you rip off
Using the
the
one before that.
rip off the specifics.
And the one above it too. Grab both of them.
Grab up to the URL.
No.
No, URL is too specific. You don't want to Google that. You want to
Everything past the exclamation point.
yes
Up to the
up
URL.
to the URL, but not including the URL.
There you go, right there.
That's good enough. Yeah.
That's good enough. That's good.
Help us Stack Overflow.
Yes.
There you go.
First
There we
one.
go. Okay.
First thing.
What's it say?
Off topic. No,
Make sure you know where else out this is.
That's not even a
it's
real.
Stack Overflow.
Duplicate,
Somebody gotta say
duplicate
that.
question.
So we're getting Rails. This won't help you.
Control F Python.
Go down.
Go back and read
Maybe you gotta check the file.
The
Heroku build pack set. Hang on. Yeah, it said it was good that error about the build packs. See what
was that about the language or was that about the second message? There was also an error that looked benign about
This one?
don't
No,
default
select the
language.
hyperlink about build packs.
Python build pack.
Probably have to have a Python.
I think it was command just to check the on this. You go back to the other command.
Then they have to push.
Can you go back? I think it was just Heroku build packet set.
Node.js.
Yeah.
That's the node one. You don't want that.
We just
Oh,
say
sorry.
build
Okay.
pack Python.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Same thing.
Go
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, there it
There
is.
you
Yep, that looks like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Without the dollar sign. Dollar sign just convention.
Mhm. Just to let you know you're using a terminal.
Yep. The best kind of bomb.
Probably want to select the Python runtime since we're on 3.6.
Well, did the error need to get pushed again? But yeah, you might want to pick Python for specific.
It'll probably just use the system Python.
Yeah, just try to do it.
Just use the latest version of Python.
Skip push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just check that first. Check that works.
Come on.
Push fingers.
Oh. So it's Python. Looks
App not compatible with build pack. That's interesting.
Okay,
Hey, we're
maybe.
still
Is that a
missing.
Python version probably, or?
I don't even know what a build pack is.
It's like a backpack.
You probably want Python dash 3.6.7.
Oh, or why not just click one of those? Are those links? No, they're not.
Wait.
But you want to do the hyphen.
You gotta put
But
the
also,
hyphen.
when
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what
with the
version of
hyphen.
Python is, you might want to do just like a Python, like hyphen V, just to make sure.
I think it was on 3.6 something.
3.2 something.
Yeah.
We can see.
There's also the Python version.
2.68. So wow. Sorry,
Yeah.
fellas.
No worries.
That is
I think we gotta
quick
put that
error.
It's live coded.
I think we're probably missing some configuration step that we didn't remember was important.
I am.
Well, the great thing about live coding, especially when you run into errors, is you learn how to fix them
Yeah,
together
yeah.
too.
It's
You
bound
have
to
the whole audience.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The thing I was expecting to be a collect status as a problem, but got blindsided by this. Well,
Let's go to that page with the detection failure. Let's see what it says.
this page, right?
Yeah, by the more info they had up there in the error message. More info, dev center, detection failure. Let's see what he thinks the problem is.
Up. Right there.
My guess is we have to tell Heroku something about how we've got the app configured that we haven't done yet. Okay.
So
Okay, that wasn't helpful at all.
do we need to clear the build pack? It said something up a little bit about clearing the build pack because it's defaulted to Node.js, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's not
Yeah.
What if I just delete do the whole get ignored or get init again?
Well, there should be
Let's
somewhere
scroll up.
you can specify a Python version using Python version file. Another thing is we could go into the web UI of the web application and see if there's any major what do you expect to run on this service from there. As much as we love to live in the terminal.
Yeah. But so sorry, fellas. I am stuck. I apologize. I can't move forward. I don't want to take much time of your.
I think we get the point though.
You guys
Deploy,
understand?
and it's gonna have a live URL. I think we got the point.
Yeah, getting the build system and the push system correctly configured is always a fun and a half.
So this is the actual the app that we were supposed to.
What does sign up page do?
Yeah.
Does it like actually capture data?
No. This is just the front end. I haven't actually configured the back end yet. That's part 2. So hopefully that doesn't crash on me. But for the moment, this is the app that
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's beautiful.
Yeah, well, good.
there you go. I am done. Finished. Thank you guys for not ripping me.
Like, that's those
I'm coding hard, man.
brave man.
We gotta do it. I just disconnect.
Okay, so I joined Echo.
Yep. This is Echo Guest,
Okay,
and it's the conference room AirPlay.
Conference room AirPlay. Okay, then Echo.com, AirPlay, okay.
Yep. And so next up, we have Thomas, which, sorry I said AWS before, it's Heroku, obviously. Next up, on AWS. And as he's setting up, by the way, if you have any questions about Heroku, our lovely community member Casey Faced is actually the Python language owner for all of Heroku. So if you have any questions, you can ping her in the Orlando Dev Slack or summon her to the Python channel, and she will be there answering all questions you could possibly have.
What was her last name?
Casey, what?
Casey Faced, just at Casey in the Orlando Dev Slack.
I'm not familiar with
FAI.
AirPlay.
Just unplug the HDMI.
Oh yeah, Windows machine.
Linux. Same thing.
Yeah, you have an HDMI port.
Yeah, you definitely know Airport's voice about that.
Yeah, Airport does not play nicely.
Windows maybe.
Maybe.
Linux no.
But she code for Orlando one time.
Yeah.
And she was that one person that was out of
What's
town.
another Python meetup?
Yeah. We
I know you're talking about now.
Back in the
There we go.
yeah back in the Iron Yard days.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't go to this.
Woohoo!
Ooh.
Whoa, look at that.
Oh, how did this happen?
I'm
That does not look
That's
nice.
what the detector does.
Let me set up.
Yeah, that.
Probably want to resize.
gonna.
Yeah.
Michael, I have a quick question. What's the best way to manage your Python dependencies?
That's a quick question. By the way, this table is like.
Now,
I'm so familiar.
before I answer that, what do everyone else use in this room so I can see how many times I'm going to be stabbed first?
I'm a noob though at Python.
What's
so
managing dependencies?
I personally use Conda.
Kinda.
We just saw a demo with Virtual M managing it. Then people have strong opinions about pipenv, and then some people just put everything into their whatever came installed on their machine, and then other people go, what dependencies?
I kind of want
I
something.
do PyEnv.
PyEnv.
I want something kind of like Node.js or Ruby, where you have like a gem file or like a package JSON
Well,
file.
creating a virtual environment and then freezing your thing is required. It's kind of like that, but with way more steps involved and way more error prone. But
yeah. Do you want the environment and on all relegated files to live in the project environment, or do you want to live it in a separate location?
I want everything to live in a project.
Then Virtual M, PyEnv, they're going to be your friends.
Okay. So my name is Thomas Hellinger. I've been working with Python for a bit. I am also the co-chair of the Orlando DSA, Democratic Services of America. Basically, I was going to do an AWS presentation of something that came up in one of our recent meetings, actually, which was we were talking about different types of voting systems other than the plurality voting, which is common, kind of the system that we use. I kind of overshot, like what, I just had this idea for an app, great idea, and then I forgot I also have a conference, statewide conference for planning, other things. So it didn't happen. And it's been a while since I've been to this group, so my presentation style is probably going to be slightly different. I've already put this up. It is on GitHub under Crimson Star Software, Vote Dingen, which is Dutch for vote thing. And yeah, just already went ahead and set it up. And I was going to go over sort of how I got set this up, some of the pitfalls, working with AWS, why you might want to do that. And it's, I think, set up so that we could, if we wanted to, kind of continue the application. I remember it's been like at least a year since I've been to one of these, but I remember that we did something with, I think, Flask, where we were kind of working it over.
The Flask mob, yeah.
Yeah, Flask mob. This could be something, and it would be nice because it could be something that I could show, people in the DSA could kind of explain, and other places, like how do different voting systems work, because I really like the mathematics behind, social group theory, social choice theory. But anyway, so I'm going to kind of go over that. The basic idea for the app was that it would be a Django app, which would allow you to set up elections, run elections under different voting systems, and then it would display sort of plot the animations showing how the votes are tabulated in different systems. Right now, we just have this. It's actually a little deceptive because there is actually some more stuff. There is the admin, of course, and I also set up some REST frameworks for APS for candidates, but you're not going to be able to see any of that right this second because it's not running. So let's start at the beginning. How to get this on the what we're going to do. We're going to set up a AWS EC2 or Elastic Compute Cloud instance. We're going to set up a virtual environment. It's pretty much what's your name again, sir? Carlos. Pretty much what Carlos did before. Then we're going to set up the Django project. Set up a this is something that Mike was alluding to earlier with uWSGI and nginx, setting that up. And then just possible next steps if we want to continue on with this. So let's get started. The first thing is, why would we want to use AWS? One of the reasons could be because you might want to give Jeff Bezos more money, which seems like a terrible idea to me. Man seems to have enough money. But that's a potential reason. There's a fun little game here someone made, a friend of mine linked to it. It's a nice little text-based game for.
Can you make that a little bigger?
The display.
The text in the web browser.
Okay, yeah, sure. There we go.
Awesome.
Okay, yeah. That is the wrong thing. Okay. So the reason that I've chose to use AWS is because if you want to work in technology, you're going to come across AWS. AWS is in a lot of things, particularly if you want to do DevOps roles. Same thing with Azure or Heroku as well. But definitely AWS. The first part is AWS has what they call a free tier. It's basically a way of just kind of introducing you to the platform. But it's kind of a slippery thing because it only lasts for about a year. It's really to kind of get you like started with it, and it's trying kind of a way to get people to use it. So something to be aware of. There's also a good article link here. I can share this with folks after the presentation on how to avoid billing alerts, because there is, like mentioned here, unexpected charges, which, for example, if you have a certain amount of traffic to the website over a set limit, even under the free tier, you will be charged for it. Free for 1 year. Kind of. This part goes over, there's something called AWS Organization, which I set up under, but you only get one account for free tier. They can terminate it at any time. That's a fun one. Also, you may not use AWS for cryptocurrency mining, so don't do that. That will get you in trouble. It's also just a bad idea in general, unless you have a lot of servers. Amazon has a lot of servers. Maybe we should, oh, right. Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty good to start out on. You get a year. This is something you particularly like if you want to learn more about it, which is why I did this. So yeah, and you probably want to set up a CloudWatch alarm. So one of the things that we need to start with is setting up the instance. I haven't already set up instance. Most of it's pretty easy. I have here a Ubuntu 18.04 LTS server set up. And the one thing that I ran into as sort of a problem was that the free tier only allows x86. But you can see sort of some of the setup process. This is kind of hard to see, I think. But larger. Like they'll have these free tier eligible with a little ring. Yeah, this was me looking for an ARM one. There aren't any. That's why you want to go to x86. Anyway. Got lost. Okay. Other thing too. So these instances are configured that if you at any point shut down the instance, all your data just vanishes. So good news is that with the free tier, you can run as much of the you have pretty much an unlimited amount of time over the free year, so you can just keep the instance up. So, but the one thing we need to do first is set up a security guard group for the proper port instances. So after you make the instance, which isn't particularly hard, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go in here, and you'll see sort of all the services here. We want EC2. That'll take us back to here. Instances. Here's the dashboard. We would initially just launch an instance. That takes us here. I would pick this, x86, selected this. Free tier eligible. View and launch. And you configure the instance. A lot of this is mostly set up for you already. You don't really need to change too much here. What you do want to change is here. They will automatically set up for you an SSH port, the standard 22, from anywhere. That's good. But what we also want to do, since we're delivering a web application, is we want to also have a, I think it's already set up, HTTP with the common 80 port from anywhere again. And then we just do review and click launch. And that's pretty much all you need to do there on that end. So, as part of this process, one of the things that you get is, this is on my computer, a public-private key pairing, which you can see here as voting in aws.pm. That's the name I chose. This is the root of the project that I've set up. So, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to log into the server that we set up. In fact, if you go to the instances back here, did I shut it down? I did.
Yes.
Oh no!
Those are your data.
No! Okay, so yeah. Services, EC2, instances. You'll notice there's a public DNS. That's enormous. One of the things you might want to do is just set it up to like a free DNS service so that you don't have to remember this gigantic thing.
The IP is also listed below.
The IP is also listed. For some reason, I decided to do this. I don't know why. I think because at a future date, I thought I could change that to something easier to use that humans could look at. Didn't get to there yet. Anyway, so we're going to copy that. Well, I already did. So this is the command to get secure shell remotely into it. There's the I flag. And we definitely need to ramp up the font here, don't we? Yeah.
Control plus.
Yeah. Usually is. Control plus.
Control shift plus?
Yeah. Control shift plus. There. Okay. So the I flag, the key that we're using, and then the standard user is Ubuntu, and then you can use the IP address too. I decided just to use the big long DNS. And I accidentally, my fat fingers. Okay, and here we are.
Yeah,
so this is the root. I've already set it up, but the first thing you would have to do is do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. The first command just basically grabs everything from the Ubuntu repositories, all of the software that you set up by default, and then the upgrade just installs it. That's always a good thing to do whenever you start an instance. So that would be the first part of setting up the virtual machine instance. So, next thing you'd want to do, that's this part, that's the sudo thing you just did. Then you want to install the necessary libraries, just sudo apt install, and then this list here. We have the virtual environment that does not come, for some reason, on. Python naturally comes on Ubuntu, but the virtual environment does not. And nginx, which we're going to use later, uWSGI core, Python 3 pip for grabbing the things we need from Python. And then these have to do with uWSGI. We don't need to get into that. So, first thing we want to do is we would do git clone, and then we would put in, but I think we all are pretty much aware of that, so I'm not going to go into that again. That would give us voting in. Now, the thing is, I pulled a particular branch. So what we would do after cloning would be git checkout with the B flag and the name of the branch, which is presentation. And that would create a new local branch called presentation. There's a remote one also called presentation. So what we would do after that is that would also switch us to presentation. Right now we should be, where are we? The branch. We're on presentation, but for the purposes of this, we would have been on master. Then we would have done git checkout like that to get to presentation. Okay. Then the next thing you would want to do is a git pull. Git pull origin presentation. That would take the remote Git repository, bring the code to your current branch. Okay. Next step. We have the libraries from Ubuntu. We have the correct code from the repository. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to install all the Python libraries. So that would be, I can just run that right now actually. pip3 install, we're going to do this from a file. So we're going to do with the R flag after install, requirements, and I have all the production requirements in production.txt. There's also testing ones. I'm not going to download those, but then you just run this. Since it's already downloaded, it's just using all the cache versions. It's not really doing anything at this point. Okay. Actually, screwed up. This would have been bad. Why would this? Can anyone guess why this would be bad? It's bad because we didn't set up the virtual environment.
Oh, yeah. This is the only application on this server, right? It's okay if you just compute the master, compute the net whole system. It's fine.
It's fine. It's all right. It's all
As
right.
long as you never use it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's AWS.
And nothing everything else ever uses it.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's all right. It's all right.
No, it's just one application on here. You're good. It's AWS. It's free. It's cheap. Just blow up another one and start again.
How does virtual environment compare to like a Docker image? Like, what's the difference? I don't understand Python environments.
Virtual environment doesn't have any doesn't have as much plumbing around it. Docker is more like a virtual machine, whereas a virtual environment is really just changing a whole lot of path variables.
Okay.
There was, I can't remember what it is now, it's been an age, but there's a similar concept in Ruby Rails where you just basically set up a environment with all your stuff rather than you're putting all your gems in the global scape. Oh, but I don't remember what it's called now. It's been ages. And
I just get confused with Python dependencies.
Everyone does.
Look, Python dependencies are an open knives out fight, so don't worry about it.
Okay. So we would have done that after we activated the environment. Good catch, Thomas. That's a virtual environment. So the next part would be checking out the presentation branch, setting up the Django components. One of those would have been the migrations. So we would have wanted to do Python manage. Oh, sorry, wrong folder. Manage.py. Would have done make migrations. And if you look in the settings file, you'll note that we have an app called voting. So we want to make the migrations for that one. And REST framework and all off.
If you leave it blank, it does it for everything, but you can also specify individual things.
Mm-hmm. Make migrations, and then you would run after this, the same thing, but with migrate. Right now it'll just tell me, oh, everything's migrated. Everything's migrated. Love it. Okay. Next part would be creating a super user so that we can use the admin pages, which is Python manage create super user. Again, already did that. Very simple. Just ask you for a username and a password, and you set up a user that can use the admin pages. And basically manage everything. Okay, so one of the things I added was sort of a way to easily get people in and out by using social media authentication. I'll walk through specifically. There is a fun little Django plugin called Django All Off, which you can see here. There's one of our install tabs. And there's a list of like different providers, one of which is GitHub. So we're going to link up GitHub, our GitHub account, or allow people to sign in with their GitHub accounts. How do we do that? Well, first thing you want to do is you go to your developer profile. So here I am. And then, yeah, we have here settings. Click on that. And you'll notice down here in the bottom, there's developer settings. I'm going to click on that. I've already set it up, but you can always set it up. What you're going to want to do here is fill these in homepage URL, description, that's optional, and then a callback URL. And I'll show you the completed values and the one we've already done. Application name, just using the URL, the public one that I have here. And then a callback URL, which should just be, I think, accounts, GitHub, login, callback. And that handles sort of all the things on our server side. What does that allow? That allows this link right here, which I'll show you the template for that. Template here. This part is the user authentication. You have just a little template here. Oh, let me also edit. You
Probably do. Probably. So
Probably Control Plus.
Control Shift Plus 2.
worked once. Oh no!
Might be a window.
Oh, the first time.
First time?
The first time it didn't work, I mean.
Ah.
The application's worked then.
Maybe a window.
Might be in your preferences.
There's a JetBrains project. It's like very,
Oh,
30
menus deep.
30 menus deep.
And it'll be different next release too.
What about the view?
You have to Google their stuff out to the minor release, like ... to find them.
Thank you, PyCharm. It probably is in file preferences and then
File.
or settings.
Settings. Because of course they changed that.
Yeah.
Probably editor.
Here it's.
Editor.
That's right.
Actually, that's,
Font.
There we go.
you're right. It's probably
There
font.
we go.
Oh, well, that's wow.
I was only like 4.
Congratulations, y'all.
118.
That was a great
We
tutorial.
put our heads together and we found it.
Yeah, we learned how fonts work in PyCharm. Yay! Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the template tag here. This is built in with Django with the users. In fact, that has to be part of the settings here. Django. I think there have to be users. Might just be already built in.
You're going to want to change your security key after this.
I've got it memorized.
Well, you're streaming it.
Yeah,
yes.
it's not so much that we're going to memorize it with photographic memory, but I can pause the video afterwards.
Yes. Yes. This is
It's slowly, painstakingly.
The other problem with live coding.
yeah. Please don't.
That's probably the person that get ignored too, right? So that
Yes.
it won't be
Okay.
posted to the people.
I was
And it should have been put in your environment file and then
World
not
Wide Web thing.
put into your Git repository. But that's my point.
I always read you put your secret key and stuff in a text file or something and add that to the git ignore. And it just have
That'll also
the-
work.
The more enterprise-friendly version of that is like on Azure, they have vault storage, key vault storage.
So, just basically,
Work with something like that too.
here we are with the loading. Social account, that's the program that manages the OAuth backend on ours. Yeah. So, where are we in the presentation? Where I am. Okay. So once we have that set up, we need to set up the actual web server. That's a little more complicated. There's actually a tutorial here. This is actually a very good tutorial. I like this here, kind of explains a little bit of what's going to go on when you have this set up. This is our Django program here, the web server. The web client would be the computer accessing our website from the internet. The socket is basically similar to, I think, like a port, basically, on the internet. It is the programming interface between the web server and the uWSGI manager of the thread that's managing the threads that are serving the Django project. And this here should be nginx. Sorry, other way around. Django is over here. Anyway. So there's various stages here that we would iterate through. The important parts are, after we've installed nginx and uWSGI, is to set up some of the configuration files. So I'm going to show you where you would find this. uWSGI typically lives here. Ooh, ETC. Sorry, nginx lives here. Under etc. nginx. So, one of the things I had to do, and hopefully none of you will have to do this because you will. Oh, there we are. Sorry, I was looking at the mouse on the screen. I had to modify nginx config because I use a massive URL. Mm-hmm. So I had to input this here. I had to actually make it larger. This is normally 64 characters. I had to go to 128 because, like an idiot, I did what I did. So, kind of similar to Apache, if you've ever used that before. There's a sites available, sites enabled file. We would set up first here in sites available configuration file, which I've set up here, floating in nginx.config. Let me take a look at that. Okay, so this is sort of one of the first things that you tested out locally at 8001, which then would connect on the Django side to 8000, which is typically the port that Django runs on. It's suggested, however, that you use like a Unix socket instead. And that's just a file that you will create with nothing in it from beatless.sock. And it uses that. I don't know the details specifically, but that's the socket that was shown in the previous image between uWSGI and the nginx web server. So you're going to want to set this to 80 from 8000, because that's the port that you'll connect to. Set your server name here. Then you want to set the media and the static locations. In my case, set here. And you'll also want to connect it to uWSGI parameters. Let's see here. Nothing.
You're in the wrong directory.
Ah, yeah, makes sense. Thank you. This is created by default, so I did not set any of these. Bear with this there. You did not have to change any of those. Okay. Next thing you're going to want to do is create a symbolic link, or a soft link between the sites available to sites enabled. Basically, this way you don't have two physical copies of the file. You have just a copy of the file in the first directory here, which is sites available, and this second file here, or the link, creates sort of a pointer to the other file, saying essentially to the operating system, the actual file is here. And that's essentially how you enable the site. So you run this command, sudo ln -s, the source file, which is the sites available, to sites enabled. And then this part you want to do to set up uWSGI. just you create two directories in uWSGI, create uWSGI and the Vassals directory. This is something that we had to set up, what I had set up on my end, which is an INI file with the uWSGI information. I'll show that in just a sec. And then you use this command here to run the Emperor, which is sort of an overview for uWSGI, detect changes in configuration, and then alters. Ideally, you would want to serve this up like an systemd script, so that, which is basically what Ubuntu uses to manage services. So you wouldn't have to run this from just like a particular instance. That could be both. Yeah. Okay. So we have the INI file here, and I'll show that. First thing we have here is we change it to the root directory of the project, which is this. The WSGI model or module, which is basically this here, WSGI, just remove the .py. That's Django file, or Django projects automatically have a WSGI file that hooks it up to here. Also want to have the path for the virtual environment here. And yeah, also the socket as well. And this is a little mystery here, but I have the socket. I tried setting it to 664, but it would give me a lot of permissions errors. So I set it to, which is probably far too permissive, 666, which is read, write, execute. All groups can read, write, execute. All users, all groups, anyone. That's not a good idea. You typically want to set it to 664, which would be read, write, execute for users and groups that own the file, and the 4 would be for just anyone else read, write permissions. That gets a little complicated. I don't know how much we want to get into like file ownership permissions, but
how many hours you got
there? Particularly, I think we all want to eventually go home. So, no, that's the wrong one. That was my crud. Yeah, and so basically, that should give us everything to where we can now, over here, look at the history, should be here. We're running this command. Yay! We see all the spawned workers. We have 10 of them by default. And now if we go here, so I'll show you what happens if you don't run uWSGI. You'll get something like this. 502 bad gateway. And if we go to the earlier, here, since uWSGI is down, and nginx here is looking for something to connect it to Django, it can't find anything because uWSGI is not running. So you get a 502 error, bad gateway. So let's turn that back on. Okay. Some other things to look at. There's the admin screen. You'll notice that there is this connection is not secure because it's not. It's HTTP, not HTTPS, which we would want for some actual encryption. But, oh well, people can see the password if they're looking in. In fact, I think we could actually take a look at that. Wireshark.
everyone off guest Wi-Fi before their packets show up.
Well, I mean, I'm going through HTTP sites, right?
You should be fine, maybe.
So,
Traffic is being scrambled.
let's look at this. I think I might have got it on the first try.
Is Wireshark kind of like Fiddler? Or is that different?
Wireshark's just like a sniffer, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's at the ZTP
Isn't
level.
Fiddler pretty similar?
You know, it's
No.
this is network traffic at TCP IP level or UP level.
Let's.
Moral of the story: use HTTPS everywhere.
Yeah. And you'll just be punished if you don't by these other sites will immediately begin applying that.
Google gets very upset if you don't use HTTPS.
Given all you showed here, you might want to change that secret key like before you leave. And what you say about Amazon billing, because you never know.
Yeah, I think you are correct.
Let's mine some Bitcoin.
A million people just logged in on my GitHub page here.
It's amazing how fast. Because it's a script. It's not a person, it's a script. This is really looking for stuff.
Let's see here.
This is why I make
Anyway,
Yeah, we use it,
this is probably getting a little too much into the. But yeah, basically.
Those are the weeds, I believe.
Yes.
But they're very nice weeds.
Yeah, they are. It's always interesting stuff, fascinating stuff if you watch it. See more fascinating stuff to watch
yeah.
than watch other people's traffic.
You would definitely be able to see my password.
We'll take a look at it.
Okay. And so, social applications we have set up here. Oh, right. This again. We have GitHub. We have to set this up here. There's a ID and key. We're going to
Also, you got to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Or I can just delete the application. That too. I think that's probably the best course of action at this point. And then reset it up. I mean, we can do
Yeah.
Yep, bye-bye.
Still there.
But yeah.
I thought we could use granted access.
A lot of
That's actually a good description, or I guess the difference between AWS, which is infrastructure as a service, and something like Heroku, which is a platform as a service. Heroku is actually running on AWS, but you would never know that if you only ever interacted with Heroku.
And I'm assuming Amazon also offers a similar competing product to Heroku, because I know that Microsoft does the same thing in Azure, where they'll sell you the AWS equivalent and the Heroku equivalent. I'm assuming everyone has.
They're all
coverage.
managed services.
Yes.
Pick
your poison.
Yeah. It's
So my DigitalOcean droplet's probably actually a droplet of the AWS Ocean.
Almost definitely.
Everything is AWS. Even Imager.
Even Azure is AWS. No.
I remember when AWS was down, I couldn't have any manager links work.
Must have been heartbreaking.
No, there's so many of them.
AWS going down pretty much shuts down the internet these days, so.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Pretty much. Half the internet goes down with AWS.
Your privacy on the internet is usually determined by a wall full of lava lamps.
Yeah, that's Cloudflare.
Yep. Cloudflare's pseudo-random number generator is, I think, 200 or more lava lamps sitting in the first floor of their office building in San Francisco with a camera pointed at it.
Tom Scott.
Oh, look at that. Kicker cake. Right there.
You committed it.
It's not our fault.
Keep it secret.
So, now we get to see how we correct these kind of problems. first thing, remember when we were talking about that get ignore file? That would be a good thing to have.
For the time being, settings.py.
Yeah.
I remember calling something once on AWS's site, and they whacked up the bills like 1,000 or something before he got a handle.
Oh yeah. If you're not careful,
hours.
Yeah.
True for any
Oh,
remote resource.
another thing, when you're using git add, like you spelled that before, the git add all, that's dangerous. I would recommend avoiding that because, particularly if you don't have like settings.py in your git ignore file, it will add it. But then again, if you're careful,
you want settings.py in there. You just don't want secret key to be defined in settings.py.
Yeah. No, you do not.
Also, if you commit the file and you delete it, it's still there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless you purge forgot you have to like purge something on there.
Realistically, it's not going away once you push it to GitHub.
Yeah. Once it's on, there's a record of it. You can always go back to that original commit and see the file. Then all to blurry. And also, all the bots are usually checking for that too.
Yep. Yep. The bots got it a long time ago.
Well, the
If you
good
make it
news
private,
is
if you
it's
make
not
it
running at the moment.
Yep.
If you make it private, it's less
uWSGI
bots.
is down.
Less bots.
It's only the bots
So,
that you give access to.
is there any worry at this point with uWSGI not working that anyone would be able to actually access this at all with the secret key? I don't know how much havoc they can.
No. It's just, that one is just a secret key for your application, and I don't think your application is doing much, so you're probably safe.
Yeah, your secret key is more for your CSRF.
Yeah.
However, I would panic a little bit if your database URI was also put into GitHub.
No, because it's just using
SQLite. Oh, then you're fine. Now, if you do have an external database, like you put something on RDS sticking with AWS, and you put your URI in your settings.py, yeah, you're going to be in for a world of hurt because that includes your username, password, and any other information.
And that's not good.
Ugh.
So, yeah, that's the basic idea. Next time, I think it would have probably been a better idea to do this live. That's why people do it that way, I suppose.
Live and learn.
But we could go over some of what's in here if y'all are interested, or if there's any questions. I'd be happy to take anything.
It's been a while since I messed with Django and I messed with the putting it in a WSGI set. How much in the Django side, what do you have to do to set WSGI? Is it literally just the Django project comes with the configuration you need, or do you need to set up much to hook your application into that?
uWSGI, not much really. uWSGI, for the most part, is pretty good. nginx is where you need to do a lot of the configuration to hook uWSGI into things. That's I sort of a dirtier version of this, which is like, this is everything I did, kind of more. This would have probably been also good. I also tried to set up React with Django, which didn't go well. Which
Template file.
it actually kind of went well, but the thing was, like, if I wanted to start making like React stuff, I would have had to know more React, and that was kind of a rabbit hole. One of the many rabbit holes I went down, which caused this presentation to not be what I'd hoped it would be. But I learned some things along the way, so that's nice. But yeah, this is just some of the basic stuff. It's mostly with nginx. It's really the configuration file, and it's a pain in the ass. I always find these kind of things pains in the ass because I have fat fingers and I have dyslexic brain, so it's basically just like 90% of my troubles are just that I misspelled something or threw in a symbol somewhere, and I spend an hour just looking, not knowing what I was doing.
If you send me a view-only link to this, I'll put it in the meetup description and the video description for later.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
We had one more question over here, and then I'm going to have to call it because we got to get out of here.
What was your plan to hook the Plotly apps and stuff into it?
Part of the problem was I didn't really have one. But I mean, I wanted to look into that some more. Plotly animations look pretty interesting, and I was able to get some, like, just some basic ones kind of hooked up, for, like, plurality voting. part of our issue was that I had some previous code here for voting systems and basically like plurality voting and score voting. I think I also have Condorcet and Borda as well. I just moved Borda over here. I also have Condorcet somewhere else, but that I figured would be a little too complicated to kind of for the initial. But I think some of the problem was kind of these are written. One of the things I was really having issues with was that I wanted to have it so that the plotly animation would sync alongside with like messages, like explaining, like showing like the ballot of each person that's voting. But that was a little more complicated than that. I still don't know really how to do that.
You'd want to set up your front end code, like your Vue.js or React, to pull the back end, and that would be more of an API side.
Yep. And so, yeah, I also set up some really basic APIs, just like for CRUD, for voters, or for elections, voters, and candidates, which is using Django REST, which makes that very easy, thankfully. Because doing that over and over again would be a pain in the ass. But yeah, anything else?
We're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. Thank you for choice speakers, Carlos and Thomas. And it sounds like we also have some future topics that we can come back and revisit these.
Okay.
If I don't see you all before next month, come back next month. One thing I forgot to mention is I want to give a big thanks to Echo and contacts right out the door there for being able to host us at last minute, and eternally grateful. And we may be back here next month. We'll see.
One last thing I forgot. I found out what the problem was. The requirements text. I didn't add it. I didn't create it.
Oh, okay.
That was the problem.
I thought I saw you freeze it. Maybe you
I
wrong
thought
path.
I did.
He freezed it and then he deleted the directory.
I did? Okay.
Oh, crap, that would do it.
All right.
All right, close
Thanks a
your
lot, fellas.
See you all next month.
Closure. Perfect.